Welcome, you guys. It's Friday. It's 5 o'clock. It's Karenann MacDonald here. Thank you for joining me. We're on our Frequency Fridays at 5 p.m. Pacific. So this is something a lot of people have been asking me to do. So we're doing it. So I'm glad you guys are going to be joining us. And if not, you'll see it on the rerun. So just wanted to get some startup here. And we're doing a little bit of fun here. So we're going to talk about frequencies and cleaning. And as you guys are starting to see a little bit of smudgy smoke starting to come up here, we're going to do some cleansing. But we're going to talk, I know a lot of people like to use some of these different smudge bowls and incense and all sorts of things. But we're going to talk about lots of ways we can do the cleaning. So anyway, let's cleanse up the place. Let's cleanse up ourselves, our communities, our planets. And I want you guys to take a really great look at some of the different pictures that I put on. So if you guys notice that thumbnail that just went up, you're going to see what I did last weekend. This is an amazing thing. I want to talk a little bit about frequencies. What we did is I had someone from Crystal Journey join up with us, and his name is called David Hickey. He's presently out of Kelowna. We basically imported him out from down east. And so if you haven't seen Crystal Journey on YouTube or on Facebook, take a look, because what we're talking about, a lot of people did not realize till they came to the show that I helped host up here in the Kootenays. And there was myself and someone called Catherine Brochu that came in. And I'm going to talk a little bit about frequencies and what we did and how we moved the kind of education here and literally raised the roof in the Kootenays. We created a portal, we did some activations, and it was not for the public. I want to tell you about a very spiritual thing that happened to me over the weekend. So what we did is that David showed up on Friday, and he brought all of his gongs and his bowls and the dulcimers and the sitars and all this incredible stuff, right? And, symbols, you name it, it was there, okay? And when you take a look at these gongs, which a lot of people, have been using over the last 5-10 years, he's actually, he likes to be the Grand Marshal. But anyway, he literally was the daddy of pioneering this like 30 years ago. We went across Canada from Ontario all the way to the island and back. When you experience these, this is not about listening to a YouTube like 528 or whatever, or, the actual sun, at 127 point whatever, 67 megahertz comes in. Every planet, every chakra, everything on this planet's got a megahertz and a frequency. So when you go to a concert, you're not really in a concert. What you're doing is where people normally sit like this and they listen to music. So, it's all really nice. What happens is with David's is that you come in with a yoga mat or a mattress or a blow up little thing and a little blankie and pillow. And, I usually have something like iPads on. What happens is that when you're doing this, it actually vibrates through the entire floor, the walls. So actually really nice intimate spots where you can hold, I'd say 30 to 50 people are ideal. You don't want anything more than that. You don't want these things in big auditoriums because you want to have an experience. And here the most, supposedly like experienced people had never sat in one of his concerts and experienced the vibration penetrating through them. It literally is heartfelt. So one of the things we did, we kicked off the day, and it was very interesting that he came in here on Friday evening and we sat up and and talked, and then got up early in the morning to get ready to, as you can still see, I've got the partitions behind me. I got the massage table behind me. It's still leftovers from the weekend, right? And so we set these up, and I had the amethyst bed, and, I'll show you some of the really cool ideas that I went with here. And this is basically for any one of you that want to do like a health show or community show, or even going to your local farmer's market, how to set up. It was really incredible. So I displayed all the tuning forks and I let people go in. It should be an interactive. You want them to touch and play. You want them to experience what we experience. And it's not about being a therapist. It's about enjoying this and rocking your world, literally. So we got up in the morning and get this. Oh, how's Wanda? It's great to see you. What happened is that if you can imagine, I had a dream. David Hickey had a dream. Whatever it was, we were both at a council, both at a meeting, and I was told this was not for the public. I went, what? I've spent like months inviting people, doing advertising and everything else. We had the largest storms here for the last week. And that entire solstice weekend, it decided to pour like insane. It wiped out a lot of different things, but there were so many different events that were going on. When it came down to who was there, it was the people that wanted to be there. It was a destination, and it was for the healing of the healing of the healers. And I went, wow. And so when he got up in the morning, he says, we had a room full of people here last night. I said, did I forget to lock the door, or was there a party I don't know about? And he experienced the same thing, he said, is that he was told, and he actually felt their presence within my living room here. And I was like, whoa. He said, I was told too, this is an activation. It's not going to be a regular concert. This was for us. This was us to come together, know who we are, form community with what's coming down the pipes. So anyway, it was absolutely incredible. So I don't know if you guys have got a really cool experience that you experienced on the 20th, 21st, and 22nd last weekend on that solstice, but it was absolutely profound here. So it wasn't just the energies. As we were getting hit with all these incredible storms here, what was happening is that we were getting electrified here. So one of the things that also happened on Friday night is every one of my poor little 30-some teeth left. Basically, the nerve root was burning. It was on fire. And a friend of mine, Tony Pantalleresco, who will be on tomorrow evening, if you're not on his Discord, I'll put it below in the links for you, is that Tony, rather than doing rumbles right now and being cast and all those things, he's just doing it on his Discord and then upload it. So if you haven't seen it, look at his TONP, so Tony Pantalleresco, so TONP, and take a look at his Substack, because that's going to be what's on there. So I am not joking. It was the most incredible thing to see this. And, you know, for us both to be experiencing, you know, like I said, it wasn't hallucination. It was the same sort of thing. So I'm just going to show you a little bit of actually what that was. So those are a little bit of some of the classes that we were doing. And we got in there. We got the tuning forks. We had people just take a straight meditation. And those tuning forks are moved up and down the body here. Okay, so there we go again. You can see Catherine using those different forks, striking them. And then I want you, just like you thought you were going Om, E, whatever, you can go through whatever you want. This is profound, okay? By the time she was done, she was speaking in light language. It just let go and just flowed. She connected to something that was so basically almost ancient and primordial. It was incredible. So there's Catherine Brochure that joined us. And she led in that tuning. And again, like I say, it doesn't take an awful lot. Then we start looking at the gongs. The gongs are not just about making a concert, you guys. You can whisper into it and it will vibrate through the room. So how many of you in the audience, just let me know if you've ever experienced one of these shows, because like I said, it's incredible. Each one of these gongs are actually tuned into the planets. So there was 2 into Mars, 1 into Venus, 1 into Earth, 1 into Jupiter, and 1 into Saturn. And you can look up those frequencies if you want to. So as I said, it makes an incredible difference. You can do sound, you can use light, and you can see again, we're all getting up, we're dancing. The idea is to have fun and to get moving, not to sit there and be stagnant. So we need to get people into that flow. And you can see I was actually having a lot of fun there too. Anyway, different hat, that was purple bray. But anyway, then what we did, and I have to tell you this was absolutely hilarious, so as you guys can appreciate this. Basically, David went onto my amethyst. That's hard to see, but there's an amethyst crystal biomat underneath him. Okay, it's a 2000 amethyst crystal. And so what started happening is I decided this was not me teaching a regular talk like I'm going to make them all into therapists. And I did. So I'm, talked a little bit about, I got all these tuning forks out. I got the pendulums out. Okay. And I'm not always the biggest one, but for you, because it can be interfered with. So, but I showed them how to actually work some of these different modalities and do hands-on, because you know what? Everyone's used to hearing, well, this is Reiki, this is quantum touch, this is Theta talk, this is body talk, this is matrix energetics, this is Qigong, it's Tai Chi, but very few people have ever done that. Okay, so those people are all therapists. So what I did is I used that picture like I talked about right here. Okay, I took a picture of all of us, and those people that do biofeedback and have been in the biofeedback industries, there's the group picture that we used. Okay, that's me. So you got basically 5 of us there. Okay, I used that picture And then I all got them to say the vowels, A-E-I-O-U, and we got a voice print, and we got now a picture of us. So you're not talking one individual. You're now talking a group of people. Okay, so whether they all do they all do the vowels, whatever you want, we get them all talking. And lo and behold, what happened? Can you see the core picture? How hot pink that is? It's almost as hot pink as my scarf is. That was fuchsia. And it literally, we were drawing in and emitting that energy, heart energy out. That is like just the pink rose, the rose crew. This is the color of love. Not pink, not green. We've moved to a different plateau, and that's what the group of us were emitting here. And we had these things transmitting. I had them transmitting the whole entire evening. So that was a really fun thing. And most people, like I said, they haven't seen that type of thing or experienced it. But what we did is by the time I was done, I was glowing all hot pink and hot purple. Okay. That's, you can guys, can you see that color? Can you see what we were radiating around us? We were really into being grounded. Okay. And if you've ever heard that saying, that you can have someone at 700 or 800 megahertz, or someone that's holding that kind of vibration, and they can balance off millions and millions of people. So that's what we want you to do. And so that was one of my better interior photos. I was like, hey, if that doesn't scare a few people some days, you know why? That's why, by the way, people, when you're vibrating at that kind of energy, you're at plasma. Okay, you're way off the charts here. This is way beyond 7 chakra activation. So what happens is that is why people will pull away from you. Did you ever notice that? Have you ever seen, where you go into a room and all your hair stand on end, or you feel like something's draining your energy? That's what it takes. And so a lot of people are not ready for it. Just like if you use essential oils, if you're doing it with peppermints and you're working with oranges and lemons and limes, those are great. Those are lower frequency essential oils. But then if you start moving into some trees, people love trees. It's like being in the forest. But if you ever notice you start moving into the flowers, like the roses, the magnolias, the jasmines, the nerolies, people pull apart and they pull away because they can't handle that. They're not ready for the next jump. So don't take it personally, but that's actually why, because they're not there. They can't match it. So, it's one thing to collect on a root chakra, and gather those people around you that are in the root chakra. That's your red, as you start connecting to people in the green. But when you connect, how many people are going to connect to people on that level? They're just not ready for that jump. And as you know about the indigo, just the light lilac, right? That's your 6th eye, or having the same vision with someone. So that's what you're looking for. So if you're all looking for people that are soulmates, start trying to see what their pictures look like. Okay. I don't want to connect to anyone that's anything less than that. Let me tell you. Okay. So all those people on, dating and on juice.com, that's the kind of stuff you want to take a look at. So is that not cool? Okay. So that's actually what we're talking about, right? Very cool. And welcome to Nanette. She's in the room as well. So again, these are different ideas, and those people that have been in the biofeedback industry, it's very, very cool. So by the way, I wanted to bring you something. A lot of people don't know there are using things right now in the hospitals, Johns Hopkins University, and those are patients in the bed that we're starting to use biofeedback sound and frequency to calm people down. So these are being used in the hospital. Okay, so, and I've known that for 20 years because we're the ones that are in there. I've had doctors actually write orders and doctor's orders and prescriptions for what I'm doing. So anyway, I wanted to let you know that that is available. And so I really think it's really important because the modality of using medicine is partly sound frequency, and you may interpret that as music as well. So again, that is something I think I really wanted to let people know about because it is so profound. Okay, and there are a lot of friends of mine like that. As I talked about, I was on a Zoom, so if you guys are ever interested, I'll put that below. One of the synergists, a friend of mine, is Sherry, and Sherry goes by Solana Fox, or Solana 0156 on Odysee. And you will see for years she's been part of Sabrina Wallace's group, teaching the synergy, teaching the biofeedback, teaching you about how to avoid the AI and cybersecurity and all those sort of things. So I want to give a big shout out here. There's Solana. So she runs a group, and we actually talk about biofield healing, and it's free. It runs a couple times a week. Okay, so We are teaching you the same thing, but if you'd like to have the meditation, Solana is really great at doing that. So you can join on there. Like I said, it's free, and I'll put those links down below for you. So if anyone has any question, I want to let you know a little bit of where the development is too. I had the pleasure of talking to Ryan Williams, and he's the CEO, scientist, and head developer, research and guru extraordinaire, and has been for 20 some years. He set up with Dr. Bill Nelson at one point the Canadian Quantum Alliance School of Biofeedback that we did on the island. I was one of the first graduates in 2004. Oh gosh, that's like 21 years, isn't it? Anyway, so what we did is Ryan's developed many apps, and I'd like you to explore them. If you haven't had the opportunity, the guy has put out so many different apps for frequency, music, activation, bioresonance, RIFE, scalar, biovibrational stuff that you could possibly do. Fractals that you can actually take these and put your glass of water in here, and it'll pick up the frequencies through the cymantic and the biosonics and aquatonics that we're doing here, and acutonics. So in here, one of the things he just came out with right now is that when we actually take voice imprints, it's done through what we call fast Fourier technique. So I'm not to bore you with the Russian and the MIT and the NASA explanation of it, but enough to say that basically what we do is that our devices are not your computers that you guys buy at home, your PCs that you work on in your laptops. We have a special converter, and it converts to what's called a trinary or trivector, basically type of display. And so a lot of people, they're putting things out, and I want to talk a little bit. We'll talk about some of the stuff that just happened this week. I've had like 4 phone calls in the last few days about it, so I'm going to talk about that. And I just got off talking with Tony Pantalleresco for the last hour and a half, and he will be dedicating his show to this tomorrow, just on this topic. We're going to talk about people coming into the field that don't know what they're doing, and critically critiquing these people and what they're doing, because it can create a lot of havoc. And these people are allopathic, and they're part of the retrogenetic crew here. So I'm going to teach you guys a little bit about discerning, what Tony and I were talking about for an hour and a half today. But back to the fast Fourier. So what Ryan has developed is a 3D imaging, taking your voice and picture. And so it's not plasma technology. It literally is sound. So I want you to think of this as focused, like we're doing an ultrasound on you people, if that's what we're doing with our biofeedback machines. So what it does is it puts a voice signature or a spectral analysis on the scale or on the sound spectrum. And what it does, it's called fast Fourier. And what it does, it's all in hertz. That's why we get you to speak, so we can see and check what it is. So it's called a 3D spectral analysis. And basically what we're doing is we are seeing where your voice hits within the spectrum, because from there we can actually start assessing organs, just like tuning forks or tuning in the organs in here. And so, for example, if there's something in the solar plexus or something like that, it might be relating to your digestive system. It might be relating to the solar plexus. It might be relating to any imbalance that people are doing. So I want you to take a look at this, because it's just out there. So we're not using AI. We're going to be using a in-house, non-GPT, but in there kind of an analysis, just like we would do graphs and showing your aura. Well, that goes through a computerized analysis, and he is really leading the way on this. So you can do people, you could do pets. I could take a picture of my place here. I could take a picture of that land. And I'm going to show you something here, because I happen to be in a beautiful thing. So you're not facing that way, but that's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm looking at. Past the computer, that's my view out here. And as you can see really closely, I want you to look at the gray and the green. So that's the top of into the Slocan Valhalla Mountains out there. And that is where they had everything on fire, just like in Lahaina and in Maui and Fort Mac and in Hope and Kelowna was also in this area. That's what we looked at. And so that green is what was left before the rest was scorched through that kind of terahertz, almost like those RIFE machines that you call it P-RIFE, but what you call terahertz. That's what terahertz is, you guys. Look it up on the spectrum. It's actually 6G. Okay, so on the back of my other one here, I want you to see, we just got a little bit of snow up there yet. Isn't that gorgeous? Okay, but I want to show you what's below here. That's me ready to go. Okay, ready to go. And that's called always being prepped. Always be mobile. Okay, it's not that we invite things in there, but you prepare for the worst and hope for the best. So as I said, I was here last year when that was all fiery red and ablaze. Okay, and you don't know when that is going to happen. It can be a terrifying thing for a lot of people because they don't realize it. It can happen at any time. And so those are one of the things I wanted to bring to your attention, because you need to be prepared. And in this time and place, so remember that beautiful mountain I just showed you, how gorgeous it was? That's what it looked like last year, just about at this time. Okay, and that's why that camper is packed, because you don't know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and you just have to be ready. Okay, so on that, I just wanted to leave those sort of things with you. Okay, and I'm going to talk just a little bit about a few other things in here. So if anyone's got any questions, you guys, just put it in the chat. I'm happy to answer that. I can multitask. I know some people can't when they're doing their shows. It's don't put anything in the chat room, but I actually like to do it because I can monitor it. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer that. So one of the things as well in here, as I said, I just talked to Tony Pantalleresco. Okay, I joke not. Here's me and the anti-nanotech guru right there. Okay, so oops, there we go. A little hard to see it. There you go. Okay, so Tony and I were looking at, he's developing some newer technology. As you can see, I just added the hat and scarf for you guys. But anyway, those are some of the things anyway I wanted to let you know about. And we're going to talk a little bit about what the actual technology is that he's been working on. So how many know about Tony Pantalleresco or know about his work? Just give me a thumbs up if you know about that in the chat room. So Tony Pantalleresco has been most famously known for what's called the triangle. And I went into there and I didn't have time to dig it out because I've got it put away after I had company here. But the triangle is something that Tony has been very famous for. And that triangle that he's built is basically got speaker wire and copper around it, like 80 some windies. And there is a very, very famous kind of video if you haven't looked at it. It's actually with Dr. Dina Churchill and Tony Pantalleresco. And what he did, this is on basically on BitChute. And I got to show you a really funny picture of him because Dr. Dina Churchill and stuff like that, she actually sat in the bathtub with the nanotechnology, right? So I got to show you guys this. It's quite hilarious here. Here again is Dr. Dina Churchill with Tony Pantalleresco, because that particular video, what has happened in here is that this is basically used. It is going to the plugin, but they've rerouted it so you're not dealing with alternating current so that you're going to kill yourself. So what they've done here is that they have actually put this in and you can go safely into it in the bathtub. You can use it dry, obviously, but you can also use it in the bathtub, as I said. And it's designed that you could put some salt water in. And he's also developed something called the spike. So I want you to do this. This is an anti-nano device. And these you can see, he makes them, and he also makes what's called buckets and stuff like that. So this particular device in here, what it does is it actually changes like a PEMF and changes the actual magnetic fields. And the idea here that he's been using is how to basically disengage the operating system of the graphinated cyber technology. So I want you to take a look at that because it's really, really important. And so he had a thing called the power of the pulse, but take a look at this. And he also developed something that was called the spike. So the spike was actually a couple different patches that you would put on that were wired in. And basically what it did is that spike actually has got copper pads on it. So I want you to take a look at these because these might be some of the more safer things that we can look at. And these patches, again, can be possibly helpful. We're just in the middle. He said he's going to be looking at some new stuff here pretty soon. And one of his disciples here is called FionaForHealth.com. So Fiona Thorenson. And these, again, they show each and every one of you how to make this to thwart the nanotech and to thwart basically this kind of technology coming on us that is massive weaponized technology. And it's also, he talks about how to make things, let's say, like a 6G, 7G, 8G shield. So if you haven't taken a look at it, do take a look at some of the technology in there. Now, one of the things he's working on, okay, how many people do you guys know about on here is what's called copper wiring or tensors. So on here, what's been happening is that you can actually order some different kind of, how do you put it? You can order your own copper wiring, okay? So in here, I went and ordered some of this. This is an Amazon there. You can get 12 gauge, 14, 16, 18. You don't want to go any thinner than that, but you can get copper wiring. And what he's developing is new technology. He has a book out. You can get a hold of it. It's his TONP Substack, or listen to him on Discord, or it's a free Discord group to go in. So yes, these are the gauges of the copper wire. And so what you do, this, for example, is 100 feet that was about $30 on Amazon.ca. You guys are luckier if you're down the States. You're probably paying half price. But in here, what you're doing, this is not about putting on copper jewelry or bracelets or little EMF coils and all sorts of things, because it's not working on the higher frequencies and EMF weaponry that they're using. So what he's done, and I'm just going to give you a hint of it, is you would need a minimum of, it's kind of like Tesla 369. And so what's been happening is he takes one wire, basically, okay, clockwise, and then puts a zinc one down the center, and then not quite as tight, runs the other one counterclockwise. You cannot have them touch, or if you do, you loop it, and then you never can close like a bracelet would be or a necklace and close the clasp. The reason why is that you'll trap the energy. And so part of this is to not only bring the energy in, put it through, neutralize, scramble it, and then send it back out. I kind of like that idea. What we're looking at is stuff basically he's been mimicking and assimilating through some of the stuff that we looked at. You know, when they wore the copper plates and the breastplates that you would see in Egypt, most of those were tied into DNA activators and protectors. So he's taking the slim Sperlings, basically their technology and the tensor rings, and taking it to another level. Okay, there'll be a new book he just told me out he's working on right now. So take a look at that, because that is really important, you guys. Okay, and very hard, I know, to see it here. Okay, but there's multiple layers there. And what he's showing me, that little spark there is him with the voltmeters. Okay, so they're testing to see how it's going to react. Okay, so there's a possibility that's what we're looking at, is some of the reverse technology. So anyway, I was pretty excited about some of that. And so you will see him actually showing me some of the stuff here as well. Okay, so like I said, it's not about making jewelry, it's how you do it. Because what you can do is actually bring technology, or not to be taking here and running some of the different technologies, because they even like shungite and stuff like that. If you do it, you'll actually attract it to you, and we don't want it as an attractant. Okay, so those are some of the things in there. Okay, so he's really specific about how it's being, done right now. Okay, so you don't want to have certain things, and he's trying to mimic here so that you're creating different torsion fields and changing chaotic energy into beneficial, benevolent energy. So speaking of that, one of the things that I talked about here with the smudging, as we all smudged at the beginning here, is how else can we do this? Okay, one of the things I talked about is frequency, and frequencies as well. Essential oils are one of your best ways. So I don't care which brand you get, as long as they are edible, as long as they're therapeutic grade 1 or grade 2, which is organic, knock yourself out. All of these are basically edible. Okay. And again, they can be a little strong, so you might want to put them in a veggie cap or on the soles of your feet, but there's nothing wrong. Okay. Peppermint, orange. This tastes like a creamsicle. Okay. So you can start flavoring up your food, your water. I just made chocolates this weekend for that event I showed you, and I spiked them all with essential oils. Okay. So everyone got a really nice flavor. So those are some of the things. And then one of the things as well I'm recommending people do is take a shot of natural electrolyte minerals or natural salts. Okay, natural salts are not like Windsor salt or We were talking about ionized salt versus deionized and stuff. So what happens is also taking even stuff like, say, like baking soda water with you or a little bit of salt water. Do that a couple times a day. Okay, just get those electrolytes in. You can use it like a tincture or put this and dilute it in some water. Very important that you have all the entire spectrum of all the electrolytes and that you're getting them every day. Because what I'm finding is a lot of people are not getting them, is that basically what's happening is that you are seeing people malabsorbing, right? And Nanette's asking what brand are they? Go seriously, okay? Up in Canada, I use aroma.ca. I use essentialoil.ca. I use nevessence.com. Those are out of Banff. In the States, you have things like Eden's Gardens. You've got Red Hala. You've got bulk, aromatherapies and stuff like that. What I usually suggest is even go to your Amazons. Amazons, you can get kits like this, therapeutic grade 1, and there's essences, there's essentials, there's all sorts of things you can get, like 1 to 2 dozen essential oils like this for literally $30. Okay, so it could be a 5 mil or it could be a 10 mil, it could be a 15 mil, depending on what it is. But you make sure that they are organic. Okay, minimum. Organic is to therapeutic level, like Young Living and doTERRA are grade 1. They are a little different, but nonetheless, you can get all of those. And of course, having said that, I did bring a book out, so thanks for asking, Annette, because we're going to go into that. This is one of my best books here, okay? It's called The Essential Oils on the Go, and I have the big version of it too, $100 version, but this is $20, I think, down the States. It's from a place called Life Science Publishing, okay? And I want you to see, this should be your go-to book, you guys, okay? See, I was going to talk to you about raindrop, and there we go. Okay, it tells you what oils, frequencies, how to do raindrop, what each essential oil is, what you can do physically, mentally, and emotionally. Okay, so all of these are in here, and it even gives you a few hints. So again, Life Science Publishing, this is the first edition. I had all the old ones. So if you guys know anything about essential oils, this should be in your bug out bag, guys. Okay, and then there's a whole bunch of ways on how to use them, and then there's a lexicon in the back. So every disease, A to Z, will tell you what to do. This should be your go-to. Okay, so I really think that's important, and you can use it for pets. There are charts in the back here too. So animals, peds, all sorts of things. So take a look at that, because oils are really, really important. It's not just about pain, but that should be part of your normal bug out bag. And I think it's really, important here. So remember, oils cross the brain. They cross the blood-brain barrier. You've heard about the ringing cedars of Russia. Tomorrow, by the way, I just found out I'm going to be filming, talking about anesthesia. I'm talking about frequency and stuff like that. So I'm going to be in our show. I will put the links on below. But I'm filming tomorrow at 10 o'clock. I'm not sure if it's going live or not. I forgot to ask her. But anyway, I'll be filming tomorrow. But anything that you want to know, on essential oils, frequencies, this should be your go-to book, okay? So in here, it's going to tell you about the influence, what it does emotionally, because oils are not just physical. They are emotional, mental, and they go into the quantum realms, into the biofeedback. And for those people that ever question anything, there's all your medical, I don't know if you guys can see at the bottom here, it says medical, basically the medical and selected researches on all of these. Okay, so this is something everyone should have. A lot of what I talk about is actually in here. Whether we called it the raindrop technique, I can't believe I still have this thing from like 30 years ago, but thank you, Dr. Garyon. Raindrop technique, you can call it aromatherapy massage, you could call it marination, you could call it anointing, you could call it Mary breaking the, the alabaster and breaking that off with the frankincense myrrh and, all sorts of things. I want you to know when they are therapeutic. If you're scared to put them on the skin, your soles of your feet are actually pretty damn tough, right? If you're scared about putting them internally and want to have a slower experience, go right ahead. I do them inside, outside, and also things. I was trained as an aromatherapist through the Center of Aromatherapy Research and Education by Dr. David Stewart, who wrote lots of books, all the validation, the scientific component, and the chemistry part of it. that we learned as aromatherapists, but also more importantly is we also talked about how this was used from the beginning of time. So whether you talked about the Bible, the Pseudepigraphica, all the extra books in there, we could actually see the differences in x-rays. And these are very similar. I've had this many times over the years with my clients. People have back pain, have tumors, the oils penetrate right in. And the chiropractors I used to work with used to go, how did you do that? He had scoliosis, he had, kyphosis, he had lordosis, he had whatever. And those oils get in and they penetrate, okay? And there's a really great example of that. Is that not impressive? I'm sure you guys can see it. It shows up quite well there. So it literally changed the frequency of this. So anyone, that was hunched back like this, literally the x-ray is showing basically over a 3-month change on that. And it was incredible, and we have avoided people doing surgeries and lots of surgeries. I've done that. I actually have gone into hospitals and extracted people out here. But one of the things, the reason I want to bring it back to you, a lot of people are diagnosed or misdiagnosed with all this respiratory illnesses, shedding. Now in the fog, we're determining, and it's nice to see that people like Mike Adams and Dr. Jane Ruby are validating what our machines have said for years, which is, who knows what's in? I'm going to give something to someone if they can get it. What's in the fog? What is people like JWTV, Stephen Walker been saying out of the States that I post on my Facebook all the time? What's in the fog? What are we finding? 1 is toxoplasmosis. 2 is Strepsipsea cruzi. Cesium-137, that's a radioactive isotope, by the way. And the other thing that we're finding is, anyone got it? I'm waiting. Serratia marcinium. That's a bioweaponized bacteria. So if you start using those essential oils, just like you see the change, TB, no TB, okay? That's just their terminology for it. It actually was gone. And basically spinal deformities, how many people have got back pain or no people with back pain? Sciatica. The idea is to put this along the feet and the spine here. They are very, very powerful. Some of the most powerful infection things you can do is oregano and thyme and clove and frankincense and basil. How many people have heard about holy basil, Tulsi? Take your tea. Well, get the essential oil of basil. You can put it in your pesto, let me tell you. But basically all these things are in there. And so anything, staph, strep, that should be in your bug out kit. And I'm not joking. Okay, so all these oils, and they relax the brain. I could put you up on an EEG, hook you up with my machines, and you will see basically the changes in there. So one of the things in here, does anyone know what this is here? Anyone want to guess? They're not raisins. I don't know if you can see, it's resin. Okay, and that resin here is actually what you will see in frankincense, Palo Santo, dragon's blood, myrrh. So that's what a resin looks like. If you've ever had pine resin, I go up the tree out here, and if there's some bleeding, you'll see that sap come down. That's the resin. And what we do is we steam distill it. So again, you can put it internally, externally. You can spray it down. You can water it down. You can get hydrosols of this. There's so many different ways in here. So what we're going to do, I'm going to teach you a little about raindrop technique. And you can look this up on Facebook, but today we're talking about raising your frequency, right? This is Frequency Fridays, right? We're here to learn. Okay, so what you do is you put the essential oils in your hand here, and then what you're going to do is you're going to put it along the feet. And if you don't want to go through 5, 10, or 15 oils separately, what I have done is literally put them into a bowl and throw all your essential oils, mix them in one bowl, and make one big bowl. And so what you can do is then literally slap them on. These days, I always use nitrile gloves. I don't touch anyone with my hands anymore. Okay, so anyway, I'm sure we can all put the oils in our hand, either one by one, or you can drop them on there. And so these are one of the things that you basically want to always have. I use, fabric, and I always put a towel underneath the feet because I don't want this to stain all my massage table stuff. The other thing we're going to do is you don't have to know how to do reflexology. You can literally go in, and now what we're going to do is we're going to put it on the feet, and you can massage the feet. If you know VitaFlex or reflexology, you can always add it in. But basically what you see, we're putting it especially along the curvature, the inside of the foot, okay, where that arch is. And you can actually do a little bit of massaging there. That is actually correlates to the actual spine. So basically, how many of you can marinate someone's feet and do a little foot massage? The next thing what we do is that we put it along the spine, okay? And along the spine here, you can see we're dropping it or slap it down however you want, okay? What are you not going to do? If you've got cats and dogs, you can do all this the same, or horses, or do whatever you want. But if you got for animals, you just look up what are the 10 or 12 that you don't use for a dog, or the 10 or 12 you don't use for a cat, okay? It's not that big a deal. But basically, you can massage however you like, okay? This is not rocket science, okay? Basically, you are massaging them. That's it. You're just putting it on. You're dispensing it, okay? And then once you go through that, if you want to do cute little things like massage techniques or effleurage or rolling or up and down or draw the little designs in them, you can. Now, what I always do on here is I go in and I then put a layer after I'm done massaging someone on their feet and on there. You can use a carrier oil, but one of my sealant oils I love is castor oil. I don't know how many of you guys have worked with castor oil, but you put it between your hands, activate it, and then you put it after I've done the aromatherapy. So let's get that. Someone's got their body. I take their little bean, I marinate them and anoint them with the oils, the aromatherapy. So I put liquid herbs onto them. And then what I do is I use the castor oil to seal it. And then I use a hot, wet, wringing wet towel, wrung out. And then I put a plastic bag on top. So you're actually compressing them for about 10 minutes. If you have someone in pain, you use peppermint. One of the last oils you use will be a peppermint, because then it will go into the nerves and they will not really have a lot of pain by the time you're done. If you do this 4, 5, 6 times every day or every other day, usually in about a week or two, you've almost eliminated probably 80-90% of their pain. Again, the oils are going in as antimicrobials. How many people know about those silly little injections that we know about, right? So those particular, and you know what I'm talking about, these things here, okay? So those particular things, when they are put into people, even 20, 30, 40 years ago, do you know that they store in the basal ganglion along the spine? Did you know that's where they can store your entire life? So this is one way of using a cleansing detox that you're slowly bringing it out and neutralizing some of these. So that's what I wanted to bring to your attention. And if you don't know what it is, again, you can look it up there. And I'm going to tell you, I have done this myself many, many times over the last 20, 30 years. You can actually see the changes on live blood cell before and after. Live blood cell, dried blood cell, all sorts of different morphologies. But each one of these here, okay, disgusting, echinocytes, corona. That's what happens to the cells, the corona. This is after the application. So how many people are trying to sell you these things? Oh, this is what this zeolite does or whatever. Or this does this and that does that. That's what an essential oil can do. I've known this for 30 years. That's why I don't like when people say, try this pendant, try this herb. Oh, by the way, it's fixed it. You have not fixed it. You've just increased and decreased, played with the zeta potential. And again, all the heavy metals, I know it's hard to see here, guys, but you got a heavy metal ring up here and it's actually starting to clean it out. Again, literally, it's eating through the skin. It's coming in here, it's chelating out, and it's repairing things right down into the digestive system. So those are different things I wanted you to be aware of. This has been around on the market just forever. And if you want to know just the actual blends that we're using here, you can use any oil. What are you not going to put on the skin? Straight cinnamon. Okay, those can be very hot. Or cassia. Those are huge things in here. So one of the first things that we use in here is oregano. We use thyme. We use cypress. We use basil. We use some lavender is in there, all sorts of things. So those are the main ones. And of course, wintergreen, peppermint, fir. You could do orange. You could do whatever you want. So you can make your own relaxing blend, or you can do an energy balancing blend. Okay. And if you're applying it, do you have to have someone apply it to you? No. So for example, when I broke my 2 ankles and a knee, and I got one still knee I haven't done yet, so we better cross my fingers on that. But when I broke my knee here, I applied the essential oils, I put the hot wet towel on, and I would let it stay on. And I did that 3 times a day, faithfully for over a month. and I didn't need an orthopedic surgeon. And then the other key to what I did, anyone want to guess? They heard what I've talked about before? I used biofeedback almost constantly. So what I did is I went into the Genius biofeedback at the time, and I went into what's called acupuncture. So this is really cool because when you go into the acupuncture part, you literally can go in and just work the knee, all the acupuncture meridians that go through that knee. So one of the things in there, I thought this is really, really cool. And if you haven't seen a little bit of the Genius biofeedback, I'm just going to show you a little bit of it now. So basically what it is, we are tricording your voice. We're hitting a microphone and it's picking up your voice. It's going to convert it into a tricorder, trivector imaging. That imaging you can see is working right now. And what it's showing is it goes into volts, amps, and resistance. That's why it's showing you a 3D output. That translates into fast Fourier, which is a really great calculus computer formula. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we can take a picture, the more recent. You can use an old one. It doesn't matter. And so those are some of the things in here that we're just going to go in and start using. You can use it with or without sound. And then what we're going to do, and I'm just going to come to the point where I show you the acupuncture. So how many people in here have gone for acupuncture before and paid a lot of money for acupuncture or massage? So we actually have a way to do that in here. And basically, once you hit start, I could go to an aromatherapy and give myself aromatherapy for the day. I could do a herbal session. I could do a mineral electrolyte sessions for those people that feel that they might have brain fog or depression or post-traumatic stress, or they feel that they're having what? A chemistry imbalance. This is a great way to start getting back into balance. And if people need to start weaning off prescriptions, they can take matters into their own hands. So one of the things in here, like I talked about, there are many people here that have got back pain. So you can actually see like a thermal imaging up and down the spine. And you literally just have to hit the bottom button here, this red one, and it'll start actually going through here. And it will start going through the back and the vertebrae or the acupuncture points and show you where it's working on. This is a great tool that we have. It's a 3D body imaging. I want you to know, and so that you're being taught anatomy, but how many people know about matrix energetics? Dr. Richard Bartlett. When you have it in your mind, mind is the matter. You're going in almost like an imaging and you're fixing it on your own. Mind is the matter. So here we are going through our spine, looking at the hot spots that are inflamed and the very pinched off nerves that are in the blue. So anyway, there's a way just to do something. And if you want to have the app to try out for a week or so, let me know. I'll put the link in below. So let's say you just want to do that. You can go into that end of it. How many people, I just talked about oils, all the oils that we have here, you could start hooking yourself up and putting your glass of water on here or putting headphones around your essential oil bowl. And then what you're doing is you're actually creating an essential oil, but you're imprinting it, or you can put water on here and restructure it. You can make frankincense water. You can make all sorts of very cool things. Again, that's what you're doing. You're expanding the biofield through sound. So you don't have to hook anyone up with magnets or anything along that line. So my favorite thing, as I talked about, of course, is what? One of the things I love to do, people know about solfegeal tones, and we're going to come back here. It can actually give you the 7 basic tuning forks. So it can actually pick out 528 or 432 or 620, whatever. You've got those. But I want you to think of every sound in here as a tuning fork. So I have 70,000 tuning forks in here. So this is something that you can look at as well. And then, of course, my other thing, you can have chakras. You can go through all your chakras and deal with those energies or the sounds coming out. So you can work on each frequency with the tune or the tuning fork or combination. Of course, what I love is acupuncture meridian. So right now, it tells you what organs or acupuncture lines are in a too hot, too yang, too yin, too acid, too alkaline, the symptoms that are in there, and then the problems underneath. So Lily, I can go into here and start working. So how many people know about referred pain? I was talking to someone and they said, I hurt my ankle. I don't look at it as a foot and an ankle or metatarpals or tibias or patellas or whatever we talked about in medicine, or, you know, that type of thing. What we're looking at, let's say you got a sore right foot. Okay. What is that foot connected to? Did you realize what you eat on that liver might be affecting here? Because it comes from the liver. Okay. So did you ever think that your sore foot could be connected to your liver gallbladder issues? And by doing a liver gallbladder flush, or by doing something, let's say, like a large intestine or a small intestine cleanse or a parasite cleanse, that you would get rid of your sore feet or sore back. So behind that colon is your back. So this is where we get into things like colonics, enemas, chair steams, all sorts of things. So there again, you could just give yourself sound acupuncture. How cool is that? Are you guys liking this? Resistor, Nanette, what are you guys thinking here? Topaz? What are you guys thinking? Can you hear some of this? Can you pick up the sounds okay? Give me a yes in the chat room if you're getting the message here. Can you see the potential of what we're doing here? I love this. This is so great. So these are some of the things that we have that will go onto anyone's phone, tablet, or iPad, or a Mac computer with an M1 or M2 chips. Okay, I don't want it too loud. I don't want it to override me either. Okay, so I can change this. How many people know how many types of waves there are? So when you get a lot of these devices, you're paying $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 and up for this kind of technology, by the way. And they usually give you a sine wave. Most of those zappers by Dr. Hulda Clark stuff, they use something called a square wave. Okay, but here you can make any kind of wave generator. So I'm really grateful to Insight Health Apps and the scientists behind this. And one of the top mentors I've had for 20 years is Ryan Williams. And so what happens is you can have a sine wave that's for general health. So when I hook myself up with headphones or magnetics or light, what will happen is that what I'm doing is actually like a battery booster. And Nanette would know because she heard me say this a couple hours ago, right? But she gets surprised today. Okay. We have basically sine waves for general health. You have basically square, and that's for more sort of dense materials and stuff like that, or a stubborn tapeworm or candida yeast or adhesions or something. And again, same thing for sawtooth. You might want to keep going at it and back off on it. Okay. So again, you should always use headphones. You should always use earbuds minimum. Okay. So even if you listen to it for 10 minutes or 20 minutes, I actually have put headphones around, if you can imagine, I have put headphones around my knee. I've put them around my neck. So a lot of times I might be running a session, and I'll just give you an idea. Did it bring something good? So what I can do is actually, when I broke my knee, I put this around my knee. I can put this around a glass of water. Okay, so I could be sitting here talking to you, plug this in, and be giving myself a session here too, right? Or thyroid, sore back, whatever. So you have many options. Okay, so this is not rocket science. Okay, it can be used in many different ways, but minimum. The idea when you're using bioresonance, or you're working with different things, like when we're talking about neurovisors, and I'll get into that in a minute, is that you're running things, again, do you know most of them when they try and restructure the brain through basically the entropy or through brain entrainment, you are doing this what you call hemisync or holosync. But when you talked about the Monroe Institute, they run a lot of these at 40, right? So when you're talking about 40 megahertz and stuff like that, because you want to have brain integration, right? How many of you want to get rid of brain fog? Okay, so these are designed, and sometimes there's a slight difference between, you'll have one at 40 and one at 46, because you want to have the brain integrate these. So again, you can use headphones, you can use earbuds. I've used many things over the years. And again, those of us that, again, if you're clean and you talk to the people, I know everyone wants to heal everyone, but you know what? I really suggest, if you want to learn about this, if you go to Insight Health Apps, there's a whole thing on training, or you go to some YouTubes, take a look at this and what we can do. Because you see people, one is Dr. Lee Bartell. He's with the faculty of the University of Toronto, and he has talked about music as medicine. You can see in Johns Hopkins University. How many people have heard of Johns Hopkins University down the States? I have my colleagues that are nurses that are trained in this, and they are doing oils and biofeedback on the wards in the chronic pain units. Did you know that? Did you know that we have over 150 hospitals just in England alone using the essential oils? We're using biofeedback primarily through Russia. Do you know almost every Russian doctor I know uses these biofeedback technologies, and they have for 20, 30 years. My technology that I use was developed by Ryan Williams in conjunction with people that worked with the NASA space program, but also 40 Russian scientists. So those are things. These are not just a bunch of simple things. One of the other ones I want to talk a little bit about is frequency. We talked a little bit about sound. So I want you to think of these biofeedbacks. Can you hear this? Can you hear that? Now that is the tuning fork. So now I've got a hockey puck. I like those better than killing my knees. Now you're getting two forks are creating a resonance. Okay, the sounds are going back and forth. And when you get what's called quantum entanglement and quantum entrainment, what you're doing is it's like two women starting to menstruate. This will pick up the sound wave on and on and on. So that's what your tuning forks do, and that's exactly what the biofeedback does. It just has 70,000 of them, or 30, depending on your thing. Tuning forks can be used. You start on the outside, so any of your childhood issues with mom and dad or a bad divorce could be out here, guys. Okay, and then you work it all the way in here, and you sweep and you clean these areas. As well, when I'm working with people with massage or biofeedback, if you've got problems, you can run it on the acupuncture point. Let's say if you've got dental problems, ear problems, okay, metacarpal, metatarpal, any of these type of things can be used. Heart, okay, so again, and how's a great way to do that? Again, get some things in play, okay? These are not expensive. They're $5, $10, $15 each, okay? It's not rocket science, but one of the things I wanted to show you here is I went and got some fun kits because I like to play with toys, and I told you I was teaching everyone last weekend. You can get weighted and surprise. Okay, these are kits you can get. Okay, they can run anywhere. I've seen from $70 up to $100. And there's all the different forks in here. You can all get forked up with me. Okay, so there's an F285. And again, like I said, it's vibrating. How many people have gone to chiropractors and had activator? Okay, so you can do your own activator. So it doesn't hurt to use any of these and use combinations of them. So here's an incredible, really nice thing that you do, because a lot of people, how many people have heard of 432, 528, that type of thing, right? So again, they're kind of fun. So here's do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. There's your me for miracles, not magic, miracles. Okay. Are you guys hearing that okay? So again, these are different things that you can play with. So if you like the color-coded ones, that's great. You can get them with sliders. You can also get with weighted little tongues on them, and that will actually help you use more on the physical. So again, do, re, mi, fa. Okay, so again, there's a bunch of different things in here that might be a lot of fun to play with. And go for it. Do, re, mi. Okay. Ut, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Anyway, those are some of the things I want you to take a look at. Very inexpensive. Very fun to play with. Right? There you go. They're not that difficult. So if you go into that, that's what we're looking at. Does that make sense to you, a lot of you guys? Okay. So, and that's what the biofeedback does, because a lot of it you can't hear. Now, some of people like myself, we hear frequencies all the time. I hear the towers. I can hear streetlights. I hear those extra vibrations. I can hear, again, it's like implants, auditory on the outside. This is not hearing voices. This is not tinnitus. I hear the vibration of these things. And so they can be quite annoying at times. So one of the things I'd like you to do is go onto YouTube, and what you're going to do is you're going to go listen to what's called a hearing test. And I want you to be very, cognizant of what these people are hearing. So when you do an actual sound test, you can actually hear that most people lose the sound after about 8,000 to 9,000 8 to 9,000, when you're getting the decibels and stuff like that. So one of the things in here, I want you to take a look, okay? And one of the things as well is that when you're doing this, listen carefully, because most of what happens with a lot of us is it's outside your normal range of hearing. So I want you to go do a hearing test and listen to it run just like you thought you were going to an ear doctor, and you're going to hear what sounds are within your range, because most of what we're going to be playing here are going to be outside your hearing range, okay? And so those are one of the things that you need to be aware of. Not everyone hears at the same level, and that's a big thing. So you don't see the same thing. We don't see the same spectrums. How many people, and I'll put this underneath, get a hearing test where you're hearing in from like 0 hertz right up into 15, 20,000 hertz. And that's where our machines usually work. We can take all of our biofeedback machines and it will be outside what you're hearing. So all this music therapy, whether you're doing chanting, drumming, tuning, crystal bowls, gongs, whatever it is helping, you look at that. And we're going to look at basically what's called cymantics. So how many of you know what cymantics are? Because that's actually where you take the sound and make it visible. So we're taking the sound of the tree, the sound of the plant, the sound of the essential oil, the sound of you, and we're putting it into a sacred geometry pattern. And that's what the computer does. It's computer assisted. So we are not working with an artificial intelligence. We are not taking our stuff and put it in on there. And so quantum biofeedback, like with Insight Health Apps, has so many different things. And you're seeing when you're talking about people like Dr. Bruce Lipton, who has the biology belief, and talking about epigenetics, we're using some of this to get the cellular thing, and we're getting that speech, mind, vagus nerve, the 12 cranial nerves back, and get your signals connecting to all those different organs, because it's a communication pathway. Okay, and that's what's happening with a lot of people, is they've lost their ability to communicate. And this is the root of all original healing, before the ancient traditions came in, such as even Ayurvedic, Chinese medicine, have all been done for thousands of years. And we all recognize the role of subtle energies. Okay, and we were here and been using it before the 4th largest killer of people is stepping into a hospital, a doctor, a nurse registered to these systems, in the allopathic systems that, practice. That's why they use, or did you ever notice? They don't do therapy, they practice. Okay? They do the practice, they do the craft. They get all those things in here and they use those things. They don't do therapy, they do treatments. They want to change that particular energy. Instead of your original script or UDNA, they either want to conscript you into the army, or they want to prescript you and change it. So your cell does not have the ability to adapt and go back to normal. Is they have to prescript you, because that's why they have to keep giving you drugs every day. Okay, this is huge when you actually get into what happens. So I want you to take a look in here, and if you want to look at something that's called insighthealthapps.com, look at the biofeedback technology. Look at what energy medicine has been doing, or what Sabrina Wallace refers to as the biofield. In Hebrew, they call it the aura. It is actually 95% of your immune system. So where you look at Volts or Dr. Boll, you look at Tesla, you look at Colonel Tom Braden, you look at any of these people that started there, Dr. Robert O. Becker, okay, Donna Eden, looking at energy medicine, looking at basically the direct current or the electrical field that plays a crucial role in our health. It's talking about the conduction or the conductivity of the electrical current through these channels, whether you call them acupuncture meridians or lane lines. This has been documented not only in Eastern medicine, but has been documented in Western medicine through the bioelectrical technologies that we now can see. Okay, so if you were in Europe, this would be standard to you about biophotonics, acutonics, and do you realize they're actually using tuning forks in our biofeedback, even on acupunctures, or dipping the acupuncture needles into essential oils, as Franca says. So when you're getting into biophotonics, you are talking about the electrical magnetics that are actually emitted by every cell. And that's what they want to do. They want to disrupt the communication by using different wavelengths. Whether you went from 1G to 8G out here, or you're using a drug, or you're using an injectant, you are disrupting the wavelength. And it's kind of like Wi-Fi. So what they've done is when they put in those things into your cell, and they put them in through an injection or through a tip and stick it up into your brain through your nose or your mouth or your butt, and now they are spraying it, okay? What you're doing is they are disrupting the bioelectrical cells, and that they can't communicate, and therefore it cannot start the healing process. One of the things I'd like you to look at, again, on Insight Health Apps under BioField Back Technology, is Shattering Cancer with Resonant Frequencies by Dr. Anthony Holland, and it's a TED Talk. I think it would be actually quite mind-blowing to you. So the idea of using the technology, which I've done for 20, 30 years, we're using technology because it's a state-of-the-art of biofeedback. It's at a fraction of the cost compared to basically going in to see a hospital and drawing blood, because you can energetically look at blood through focused biofeedback, which is what I'm doing, which is why I still see clients one-to-one, and I was Zooming actually with a couple of you in the room even today. Okay, so what you're doing is you're measuring the frequencies of various substances. So we can measure the frequency of the herb. I can measure the frequency of a pharmaceutical, the drug, the vitamins, the minerals, and anything else that you can think of that emits a frequency. Okay, so those are basically what we're doing. It's valuable, or actually I would say almost invaluable information that you can get, and that actually therapists and instructors and educators as myself, Ryan Williams, Dr. Debbie Drake is another one as well. We've done some shows at Natural Intelligence and also other things in the field. I have a wealth of information on this YouTube, but more so on Rumble, because you will see me talking. I very rarely, until we started doing Frequency Fridays, decided to come out and start doing this. So what we're doing is we're going to take your audio and the audio signature waveform that you produce against my data bank, which could be having a database of thousands and thousands of signature. And all we're trying to see is what is not sitting in a norm for you, whether it's herbs, emotions, toxins, anything you can think of can be put on there. So it's kind of like allergy testing you. So with this framework, physically, emotionally, mentally, we can actually help with those imbalances. You can use your own voice to heal. So when you actually put it into an affirmation, we can take that electrical magnetic waveform of your affirmation and send it back to you. So it's like you talking to you, it's like self-talk, it's like affirmation work. I think it's so cool. I work in a little bit more when you work with the approaches to this, is using stuff in this lifetime, childhood, past lives, whatever you want to say, also other timelines. And when you do that, I usually like to use your original mother's tongue. So speaking in tongues is a great thing for me. I might want to go back to my mother's tongue in Cyrillic, or what you think, Octarian, Russian, Tartarian, whatever you want. Use what your mother was actually speaking many, many years ago. So this is, I think, where we get into the question of balance and self-regulation to maintain the peace, harmony, and homeostasis. And that basically give you just those subtle energies like a little battery boost, and get into a point of being self-sustainable, self-regulatory, and use the innate healing that we can actually ignite within each one of us, if that makes sense. Because everything we have is within, right? And so I want you to take a look at this. This is some really cool things I thought that you guys might appreciate today. So anyway, those are some things. So if you have a couple questions, we'll go maybe about another 10, 15 minutes. So if you want to think about it, get it in there. One of the things too, I recommend books in the field. And I've always said with people, if you're going to be in the biofeedback field and using it, even if it's for your own use, most people, 95% of my friends have these. My clients, 95% have it. It's for home use. You are not a therapist. You're not usually doing other people other than your friends, intimate circles, and grandchildren, maybe dogs, cats. Or today, I was telling people how to take a picture of your house, how to take a picture of your local community, and use that as well. So two of the books I recommend is called The Electrical Herbalism. These are all the things. Every one of these code books is actually within, I know it's hard to see it, but there are thousands and thousands. There's literally millions of these codes are embedded in the genus biofeedback. And if you don't have it in there, you can certainly put it in. I've done a few extra myself. I've embedded 4,000 other things. This is an excellent book. This is a mainstay. Okay, and there's also a book called PEMF by Bryant as well. This one is a must. Anyone that's in the biofeedback, you better have this book. Marcello Allegretti. Okay, definitely this is, again, Royal Rife. If you don't want to have that or you're strapped, look for a PDF. You can find some of the PDFs of Royal Rife, but not nearly as great as this book, let me tell you. Once you get into these codes, and I'm just going to flip to them, to the back, what happens, and I know it's really hard, just got the sun's coming down here. All these, no, that's not going to work. Okay, let's just go back to the back here. You've got things like, did you know you have your ear? Okay, your spine. You've got what's called the spine, the signature of the spine. Every vertebrae, all 33 of them, actually have a sound code or a frequency or noge. Okay, did you know every periodic table has got a frequency or a sound code? Who remembers this from taking chemistry, you guys? Each one of those has a frequency code. That's why we can measure and tell you what your chemistry, your blood, or your imbalances are. Your chemistry imbalances, right? Not like a psychiatrist or a psychologist would ever look at, or an MD. Okay, so that's one of the things that's really important that people take a look at. And again, plants have it. As I said, essential oils do. Planets do as well. And there again is the different chakras and organs. Every organ. Okay. Brent's going, yeah, I do. I know. I was going to say, unfortunately, it just seems like yesterday I was taking this stuff in high school 40 years ago. Okay. How many of you guys are musicians? How many people know that every key, every sound, every note or octave has got a frequency here? So again, we can play you a song to get things into the right tone or pitch in here. So this is really cool. That's why a lot of people, hard to see here, but it talked about the 440 hertz versus 432 and how they, redid everything in the solfeggio tones and the frequencies. And again, I showed this a little bit last week. It's called the spine frequency. So for example, let's say on the C1 here, which is the blood supply to your head, to the pituitary, okay, gland, to all the bones in your face here, middle ear, inner ear, and the sympathetic nervous system. So are you experiencing what? Headaches, nervousness, insomnia, colds, high blood pressure from intracranial, migraines, nervousness, anxiety, chronic tiredness, dizziness, brain fog? Again, we can give the C1 up here. Instead of taking a chiropractic adjustment, you can actually do 130.81 hertz, 128.43 megahertz. So every spine, every organ in here associated underneath has got that frequency. So again, this is more than the 432, okay? There's a wealth of information here. So I always recommend people have that for a backup, because right now, what's going to happen if we have a pole shift and you're back to the Stone Age and we don't have any electrical? So I don't know how many people have got extra power supplies, but you can get a power Sierra Wave for like $40, $50. You can get the big ones in the eco-visors for that as well. Another thing I recommend, Heal Yourself 101, Markus ROTHKRANZ. Okay, he looks better now at 60 than he did in his 20s, 30s. Anyway, what I want you to do is that all these things, there are recipes in here. There are things to do, how to do enemas, life-changing, how to do all the parasite cleansing. Okay, these are essential things that you need to know. Okay, food, seed, storing, everything else, cleansing, condiments, how to go in there, how to make teas, everything you want it to know. And this is for free. So I want you to go to markusrothkranz.com and download the free PDF. Okay, I used to give this out to all my clients when they came in. And I think it's really important, even what to have for medicine. Okay, again, these people walk their talk, and we know a lot of people are in transition, but there is a wealth of information in here. Okay, and again, how to start doing things when people are not feeling well. Excellent, excellent thing. So like I said, a lot of people before and afters. Okay, I like people that walk their talk. Being a colon hydrotherapist, a peristeam hydrotherapist, one of my favorite things is people don't realize that you have what's called mucoid plaque. How many people know about the black goo and the graphene and blah, 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 and the glyphosate? This is what's happening in plaquing in the guts. Okay, this is like the black goo of the inner thing. Once you get that in, that's why all my clients go, but I am drinking alkaline water. I am taking magnesium. I am taking my iodine. Guess what's in the way? And this is why in the lower bowels of hell, most people cannot absorb anything. Have you noticed people look really blank lately? Or they're a little bit edgy? Because again, those are the people taking all the supplements, but you're not absorbing it. And so this is one of the number one things. Did you know diabetes and skin conditions and rashes are all connected back to the colon and the liver? So these are things that people, when I used to have clients that had diabetes and gangrene, we could get rid of it within usually about 3 to 4 weeks. Okay, is that not impressive? That's normal to me. That's how clients would come in, and that's how they would be leaving or on their at least journey anyway. So one of the things in here I think is really, really important is to learn all about the bowel. This is a must-have book in my world. And this has actually got all sorts of recipes and stuff like that for people, and broths and cleansing programs and all sorts of things. But one of the things they talk about is actually how to make an at-home, let's see if we can get that. Oh, now we're getting the light right in the weirdest place. Anyway, what we're doing is it's called a klima. And I want you to look up what a klima versus a colonic is. Oh, there a little bit. Okay, so this is a toilet and someone's just basically sitting on it. It's like a high enema. Okay, very, very important, because I'm going to teach you the secret that no one ever seems to talk about except me. I don't hear anyone talking about it. It's something called the neural arc reflex. And the neural arc reflex, again, Bernard Jensen used it. I knew this. Some of the iridologists still know it. Hopefully this will pick up a little bit. We might have to move. Can you see that that's a fetus, you guys? Can you see that okay? Can you see the fetus? Did you realize that's your colon when you first start out as an embryo? And then as you grow and you grow and you grow, the stupid thing goes around like this. That is the secret why going into the colon can fix any disease just about from head to toe. I don't care if you got toenail fungus. I don't care if you got a wart on your hand. I don't care if you got heart, low back pain, whatever. There is the secret why colonics work, because you can access everything internal reflexology. So one of the things in here, that's why I think it's really, really important, is to take a look at that and to start doing for colonics and parasite cleansing. So if you haven't looked at this book, I highly suggest any of Dr. Bernard Jensen's, whether we did iridology, sclerology, reading your face. And speaking of that, you can look up Read Your Face 101. Just like he's got Heal 101, he's got a Heal Your Face 101. So those are some cool things. You guys doing okay? We're still with me, so we'll go another few minutes here. My butt's getting sore in here. These are lymphoma chairs, by the way. Just in case you don't know, they go all the way back. And this is how I do my reflexology, facials, things like that. You go into what's called 0 point. I have little amethyst beds and stuff under here. And one of the things I wanted to talk a little bit about here is actually using, how many people know what a Tesla ray is? Anyone ever heard of those? Tesla ray, the violet rays, that kind of thing? So one of the things you can do is Tesla rays are basically a high frequency electrode, and they would put argon or put things in here. But I'm going to show you kind of a basic one here. And you can get ones with Tesh has them on that. So Zisha's got him on my Facebook. He's selling violet ray kits from like Tesla stuff from 1920s. Usually a couple $1,000, but they're really nice. But anyway, you can get little things that you can comb through your hair. Okay. You can do things for literally vaginally, rectally. This is what doctors used. This was their surgical kits, by the way, in the 1920s and 30s and 1800s and up. You could do this for in here, outside, ears, all sorts of things. There's some kits that come with like 20 some adapters like this. Okay. And so what they do is they have a metal in, they plug in. And one of the things is, again, you got to stay kind of grounded here. Just got to be careful. I don't want that to fall off and shatter. That would be a really bad thing to try and replace some of these. And actually, what's really funny is that you can get these. Do you know they use them in the beauty industry, in the facial industry? And one of the things you'll see quite often here, as I unplug some of this, is that right here, it's like a zapper. Okay, so you might be able to hear it. Can you guys hear that? Can you hear it? Okay, it's like a zapper. Okay. You will actually, when it's actually running here, you will actually hear and smell. You can not only hear it, but can you see it's got a purple or orange look to it here? Okay, so that is actually used in there, and you can actually get even real basic ones just on Amazon for under $100. Okay, so you can see how that orange argon is going through here, or you can get the violet rays. But what happens is you can smell it. So I'm smelling the negative ions off of this, and this is a huge healing tool. I wouldn't be without. It's used for facials, but you can use it for skin. You can use it for all sorts of really cool things. So, oh, great. Thanks for letting me know, Brett. Resistor, you're in there. Alana, yeah, you can hear it. So do you guys have any questions so far? You got anything else? I'm giving you down to the countdown here. So those are a few of my favorite things I want to talk a little bit about. So these are things that you should have in your bug out kit. I also wanted to update people a little bit. They know that I'm close to the ostrich farm. So the only thing I've heard, I recommend people go look on Twitter or X to David Dixon, to Canuck Law. Also, if you want to look at Maverick Media on Rumble, you will see a lot of information being dispensed there. Okay, the newest thing, when people tell you, and don't get your, whatever little purchase in his Twitter here, is that there will be, which I'm glad of, because it's going to go to an appellate court. And one of the things in there that's really, really important is that now, rather than just getting fined, I hope that those guys put all that information in and they will compile it. It will go into an appellate court and can be put in for information. And rather than being fined, that basically that Lily can be charged criminally, which I think they should all be. Putting bio-tainted meat, manure, ostrich eggs, crap like that into the local environment. And as I talked about here, I want you to think about, remember what I was just talking about here? Let's just look at that again. That's a great analogy, actually, is that you don't always see what's in someone. Okay, I dare anyone to look at too many people and tell me what kind of a disease they have. That's why I got scanners. I can sometimes see energies. You can feel it. You don't want to be within 5, 10, 15 feet of these ostriches, people, whatever. Again, you can't see what's inside here. Oh, look what it's doing, even to the magnetics. Do you see how it skipped? Can you see what this energy is even doing to skip the electronics here? That's the kind of energy. That's what you really is more of a plasma type thing. Okay? Well, that's really cool. I kind of like this now. Anyway, you can't see what is emitting and transmitting through the waves, whether it's off a person, an injected dog, an injected individual, or a cat, or an ostrich. So those are some of the things I wanted to bring to your attention. Again, that's why some of us feel it. That's why some of us see it. And every one of those things I talked about, any kind of stress being put into the body will create an acidic, toxic condition. That's why it's so critical. I've always told people, I don't care if you're doing biofeedback, colonics, essential oils, whatever it is. The first thing I teach in here is about the alkalinity. I teach about people getting their litmus paper. You go pee on it first thing in the morning, and you better be way up here. Okay, that's where normal is. Did you ever think this looks like your chakra chart? Does anyone ever notice that? I've been teaching that for years. Do you want to be in the lower 3D? You want to be in the pits of hell here? Or do you want to start? That's where you start getting into your heart, by the way. It's at about 7.4. That's just to get into your heart chakra, 7.4 in the litmus paper. And this is activating the other 5D, 6D, 7D. Okay? So that's a measure how intelligent people are when they come over here. So again, can be done. Okay? There are so many things available to us. And one of the things people were talking about, before I let this go, I spoke to Tony Pantalleresco for an hour and a half because I was almost seething mad today. The last couple of days, a bunch of people have sent me a TikTok and a Rumble with Jeff Bezwick and Dr. Anna Michaela. Okay. Anna Michaela is out of a group called Ramp the School. You can do your own research on what Ramp the School of Enlightenment is. that this woman, JC Knight, apparently channels a 35,000-year-old warrior called Ram. Okay. And I've been down to Yom. I've been to JC's nights, and I have lots of friends over the years. In fact, I dealt with the second in command, which was Mihail Ledwith. 20 years ago, I was actually teaching him this biofeedback that I had, and I think I anointed him. I was the first one to show him what frankincense essential oil was. I always thought it funny that the advisor to the Pope didn't even experience frankincense essential oil. Thought that was funny. But anyway, nonetheless, okay, these are the places where they live, they belong to, in the groups that they are. I have met very few medical doctors. One of the few is Dr. Debbie Drake, that's gone energetic and really integrative, holistic, that is now trained in Ayurvedic, Panchakarma, and traditional Chinese medicine. And one of the most brilliant women I know. And I'm glad that her and Margaret are friends of mine in Toronto. When you're talking to people about taking things called like a blue room, those blue rooms are $30,000 with lots of mirrors, a lot of electricity going around. And I've had people get violently sick. I've had clients go into turbo cancer. They're not for everyone. RH bloods even affect differently how you go into these or the ES systems. And I've had people have their eyes swollen. They're not for everyone. And when you start recommending pharmaceuticals like ivermectin, which is chipped, that I've seen under the microscope, and it will go in and out of reality. It goes dormant, it goes on and gets shut off. Again, as I showed you frequencies, it can go in or out. It's outside your seeing range and outside your hearing range. So I want you to think about even what you see in a visible light spectrum. If I just relied on one sense and I couldn't have my hearing, touch, or anything else, I would be limited. And when you think people that know things because they have a live blood cell machine and they don't use other things to back it up, you are dealing with someone that's got a limited amount of information. They're not dealing with the stealth, the virus, the dormancy, or the reactivation that you can do through teslophoresis. So they can actually put something into like a chip through an injection, as we talked about. So they could take all those people, something into like a chip through an injection, as we talked about. So they could take all those people like sleeper cells, put things into them, and give you a certain frequency and explode it. And then all of a sudden, it's inside you, exploding all over the place, replicating, metastasizing, amplifying like a payload. And that's what Sabrina Wallace teaches you guys. In here, many things like that can activate it. So I get very upset. And then one of the things they talked about, it was like new plasma technology, like we haven't had this before. That particular machine is called a biowell. It's over 2 decades. Let me stress that, 20 years old. Okay. And what you're doing is you have to put your hand into either a well or a hand thing, and it's metal microcurrent electronic activated. As I have stated before, Tony has stated before, Sabrina has stated before, do we go and apply pulsed energetic or electrical magnetic currents to anyone injected? No. Do you put anything and apply that to people in here injected? No. The same as I deal with this as I would deal with an internal pacemaker. Or there are people that have drugs as insulin and morphine that are dispensed because they have like a little thing that they do. And that is the dangers of what you see Kennedy talking about right now and the DJT down there. That's what your MEGHA is about. That's what cybersecurity is about. That is what they want to do to electronic medicine. Right now, it's so bad in the States, which is going everywhere. You could phone in or use ChatGPT or Grok or whatever else you want, put in your symptoms. They will come out with a false diagnosis, a false set of drugs and pharmaceuticals, and then your doctor would sign it off. That scares me because you know what? They're losing all their doctors. So this is their last kick at the cat. That's why what we're doing is so, so important. Do you agree with me? If you agree, put a yes in the chat room. Give me a thumbs up or something. Okay, so that's why we've come in, and that's why I've decided to come back and start teaching you guys. Okay, one of the things too is that I want you to see, when you start seeing these supposedly celestial pods, regen beds that spin around, things like that, what you're doing is you're putting that ozone I talked about. You can buy an ozone generator for $50. You want an infrared mat? Guess what? I can go to Amazon too and just get you an infrared mat. I love doing this at about this time as the sun's going down. Can you guys see that vibration coming off me? Can you see how it's vibrating? That is the energy in the aura. Now, if you had this inside you, put in by one of these, okay, you don't see what's inside that individual, do you? But how many people have gone near someone that had one of these, right? You see how it's running off, and you felt those vibrations, and you start getting nauseated, and you start getting headaches, and your skin starts crawling, and you feel like you're going to get vomiting, or you feel like imbalanced, or you feel like there's brain fog, or you feel like they're sucking your energy dry. How many people have ever come across one of those alien love biters, or what you call a psychic vampire, like a loosh sucker? How many people have come across people like that? Okay, and this I'm showing you to demonstrate you cannot see what's inside them, and this is what's coming off those people. Okay, and that's why when you get near them, you're feeling this. Okay, and that is basically what is inside them here, right? That you're not seeing because it's inside them. These are all the little particles of the graphene that are responding out there to the satellites, the Gwen towers, cell towers, and frequencies. So if they decide that they basically want to increase the volume, okay, there's 5G, okay, and then they can shut it off. So guess what? They can't see it underneath the microscope. Now they can. Or is it brighter or more intense? Okay, so I want you to just look at that. Or do they want to start distributing it to you? And this is called transmission. So now can you see the waves really wrapping? Can you hear what it's doing? That's an example of what you call contact axonosis. Just use this. So this is the contact. This is what's happening from this, guys. Okay? You can't see it, but that's giving you chemo and radiation by nearing them. And that's what's happening as you call transmission shedding. Does this get the message across? You can't see in this field. Some of us can see it, some of us can feel it, but that's why I need the biofeedback kind of machines that I have been using like this to detect this. Make sense? So what happens is when you have these kind of machines, I can take a look at the biofield. So I can tell you within minutes, does this field look healthy? Do you think I can have a little bit more intensity? Right? So I can ward this off a little bit more. So because I feel this, I start bleeding. I have a response. What scares me is the people that don't have a response, because there are so many people here that have got really pathetically looking energies at worst. That's someone that's being energy harvested, right? They're being drained. There's no vibration to them, okay? They feel ill, and it can manifest as so many different kind of issues, right? You can even see dark spots and headaches, okay, off people, or all sorts of things can show up, okay? This one, there's hardly any energy left, okay? And again, there's a lot of digestive problems, reproductive problems, all sorts of stuff. Like I said, you can tell what's going on in individuals very, very easily, okay? So we need this kind of information to see into that dimension that you can't see with this. So I think this is going, so Brent's going, oh, a lot of sense now, thank you. Okay, sometimes I try and break down things that are really complicated, okay? And as they ramp up the vibration, can you hear this as well? Okay, now as they ramp you up more with the 6G and 7G and 8G, what's going to start happening to people? Okay, so I want you to bear that in mind, okay? And one of those things, like I said, in here, like I said, it can be off, and guess what? They can take every individual and start doing this to them. You don't know when it's going to go on or off. You don't know when it's safe. And one of the things I've been teaching people, I just thought it was kind of common sense. people go, no, I've been really careful. I said, you go to the store every week? We go, yeah. I said, do you get change from the cashier? Yeah. How many times do you do that a week? 3, 4. I go to the store, pay for gas, everything else, blah, 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 right? And they hand you, again, that change, which is metallic, and they put it in your hand, and you have a direct spiking right there. So what I suggest to people is either have them put it down on the ground, on the counter, or I do it. I don't go trick-or-treating, but I open up my bag, and my guys are all trained just to stick the change in there. I never touch anyone. I put the cash or whatever you need there, or, you know, on that type of thing. Do not ever hand and put a direct thing on here. You have no idea how you're getting spiked 3, 4 times a week. Most people just, like I said, they're not aware of it. And one of the things as well, too, so I'm at it, this is some of the biofeedback technology. We get these on Etsy, but also we have them inside health apps. But these are adapters that plug in to these devices here. And that's where I can start making my remedies and homeopathics, okay? So again, there are so many different types of plates out there and sacred geometries. These are called Koski or bifilar plates, whatever you want to call it. Tesla plates, Tesla coils, sacred geometry that run the energy from here into here. So you're imprinting or replicating the technology. Okay, duplication. That's how you make things even better, like a homeopathic. You can make another essential oil. You can put rocks, crystals, whatever you want into here. Okay, so those are some of the things. I want you guys to think very carefully about some things that you would like to see for next Friday. So if you're on the rerun or whatever, put your comments below. I'll check them this week. And you can also go ahead and get a hold of me directly at clanmother13@gmail.com or at calm13, KALM, at Proton Mail. Again, these are the type of things we're seeing out here. Light therapy, sound therapy, neurovisors, all sorts of very cool things that can be put on here, put in your bra. I can go shopping while my thing is on my person, vibrating and no one knows, because I'm putting out an electrical signal here. Okay, so again, lots of things are out there, but not for everyone. Okay, I want you to exercise precaution. And those people that are interested in getting a demo, or if you're interested in exploring this technology, look under what we have there. So anyway, I'm glad this made a lot of sense. I thank you guys for joining me. Wow, this is a Friday evening. I think that's the hint. Someone's honking. I'll take that as the hint. Anyway, you guys have a great weekend. Thank you again for joining me. I'm going to put my clan mother, KLAN, mother13@gmail.com here. I'm also going to put in my calm13. That's at Proton Mail. Is anything else I can help with you guys this week? If you've got yourself or you've got a loved one that you want to look after, or you want to look at your dog, or you want to do a house clearing, you can send me your pictures, all sorts of things. I've got a lot of, grandparents, they want to do the grandchildren, something like that, or a mom, you want to look at your children. Again, this can be done from a distance. Okay, you don't have to be there. The child doesn't have to be there. I can take a picture and get some brief information, and we can do this on FaceTime. I can do it on the phone, Telegram. I'm on Teams, which is the new Skype as well. So those are all really great things to use. And, we've got StreamYard, we've got Zoom. I think I've got about 6 things where we can do telemedicine like this. So if it's something that you'd like to be interested in, and there's Carrie Lee. Oh, Topaz. I didn't know you held us, Topaz. So those are some of the things there. So if you want to invite a friend next week, please do that. Or if you think this is important information, send it on. And before I leave, we're going to get a little steamy here. And I'm going to teach you about a couple of things too. Anyone know what this is if you've been on my Facebook? That is actually herbal gels that have been put in. They could put in vaginally or rectally. You could put them on gauze or in a tea bag with herbs and actually put them in here and leave them on overnight. So that's one. And again, those are available. And I usually teach people how to make your own what's called yoni pearls. Okay, and those are really, really important. You can make your own, and all you need is some string and a little bit of, can you guys see here? That is just like a cheesecloth, very fine fabric. And you empty the contents and you make your own herbal tampon. Isn't that exciting? How many people have ever known that's called a vaginal or yoni pearl? Also, next week, I guess we could teach you how to make a rectal suppository because it's chocolate. This is another thing. And again, these are things I hand my clients here, by the way. So let's see if anyone can guess what this is. Anyone know what that is? Anyone want to take a guess? There, I'll give you the other part to it. See what that is? Anyone want to guess? No? Yes? No? Okay, this is actually, like I just talked about, the yoni or vaginal womb detox pearl. These are actually herbs that are put into balls. You can put them in the belly button, and you can actually tape them into the belly button overnight, kind of like a castor oil pack. So again, essential oils can be put on castor oil packs. You can put them on the feet. And also, I challenge any one of you, go get an organic onion. So it could be yellow or a Spanish or a purple onion. Slice it up thinly. Wrap your feet with saran wrap or essential oils and then saran wrap. And go to bed with a nice pair of socks that you don't really want to keep or a pair that you're going to reuse. I want you to try that for a few days. I'm going to tell you what those things will do. You need to know that herbs and oils and stuff like this don't just go inside. They can be slowly absorbed through the skin. That's what a poultice is. And poultices are very, very powerful. And on my parting thing here, let's see if we can move this back a bit. Can you guys see there is a chair back here with a hole in it? Okay, I put a hot plate underneath it with or without, and you can sit here with a blanket, just drop your skirt or drop your drawers, and I could be sitting out here steaming the whole time, and maybe I'll do that next time. Next Friday, I'm going to steam for you, and we're going to see who can do that with me. So I'm going to challenge you guys all to look for yoni steams, vaginal steams, pelvic steams, or a chair for next week. So I'm going to leave you with those incredibly exciting thoughts. And I thank you guys all for joining me. We will end the stream, and we'll see you guys next week on Friday at 5 Pacific. And we're going to bring your frequencies up. Are you ready? Let's do it.